Good morning, everyone. This is Michael O'Malley here with the Hurricane Outlook and Discussion for September 1st, 2019, recorded around 11:28 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hurricane Dorian is an extremely dangerous, extremely strong Category 5 hurricane, one of the strongest on record for the northern Bahamas, and catastrophic conditions are going to be on the Abacos Islands, and the eye wall is already reaching the Abacos Islands. Extremely dangerous, life-threatening situation in the Abacos Islands currently, and all we can do is pray for those people. Hurricane Dorian on its latest track. Well, first we'll talk about the watch of the changes here. We do now have a hurricane watch from Deerfield Beach to the Volusia-Brevard County line here. That has been added with a subtle, a very subtle but ever so surely a shift back towards the west within the latest forecast cone has brought a little bit more of Central Florida within that probability, and a landfall is still very possible here as we go throughout the next few days. We'll just have to continue to monitor the progress of the system. But hurricane watches have been issued from Deerfield Beach to the Volusia-Brevard County line, and tropical storm warnings have been issued for Lake Okeechobee, as well as inland portions from Polk County through Sebring and Okeechobee here on the Tampa Bay side of things. And I do suspect that we will start to see tropical storm watches issued for the rest of the metro, Orlando, Stanford, Titusville. Those areas will likely be included within a tropical storm watch or warning later today. Currently, again, Hurricane Dorian is only expected to sit roughly around about 30 to 40 miles offshore, but those are going to bring hurricane conditions for portions of the Florida Peninsula and the Florida East Coast, and there is an increasing concern of extremely dangerous surge impacts as well. So for that reason, a storm surge watch has also been issued along with the wave action. There will be near 40-foot waves, maybe just offshore, and some of that could get to the onshore areas. So significant beach erosion, significant wind impacts, and possibly even some rain impacts from Hurricane Dorian can be expected for portions of the Florida Peninsula and Florida East Coast. Again, we do have those hurricane watches that have been issued from the east coast of Florida, from north of Deerfield Beach, to the Volusia-Brevard County line, and a storm surge watch from north of Deerfield Beach to the Volusia-Brevard County line, and a tropical storm watch issued for Lake Okeechobee, which also goes to include portions of the Tampa Bay Ruskin side of things. You got Polk County here in a tropical storm watch through Sebring and Okeechobee, and including Lake Okeechobee under tropical storm watches at this point. Again, we do suspect that will fill in later for the metro. Looking at the visible satellite animation for Hurricane Dorian, Dorian has continued to strengthen and has only slowed down about 1 mile per hour. It is taking more of a due westerly turn now and is heading straight for the Abacos Islands. The Abacos Islands will inevitably see catastrophic damage and catastrophic winds inflicting major damage, and this place may be uninhabitable for months or potentially years. This is a very dangerous and very life-threatening situation unfolding for portions of the Abacos Islands and the northern Bahamas. This mainly stays away from all the tourist areas down here, but again, you can see some of the effects. Some of the serious outflow from Hurricane Dorian is getting pretty close to the east coast of Florida, and I actually do suspect with a little bit more time, depending on how close this meanders, we'll start to see these hurricane watches upgraded to hurricane warnings for portions of the Florida East Coast at the current time. And we'll take a look at the forecast discussion from the National Hurricane Center. And the forecast discussion does show that Dorian has anticipated to slow down, but is heading towards the west still, and heading towards the west. But variable left or right trends have still been noted within the guidance. But the overall trend is for the hurricane towards northward offshore. And this is the very important thing to note, but very close to the Florida Peninsula. And given the uncertainty in the track forecast and anticipated increase in size, a hurricane watch and storm surge watch has been issued for portions of the Florida East Coast. And it should be emphasized that although the official track forecast does not show landfall, users should not focus on the exact track. A small deviation to the left of the track could bring the intense core of the hurricane and its dangerous winds closer to or onshore of Florida. So this could still make landfall in Florida. There is an undoubted thing that this could make landfall. It is still expected to stay roughly about 30 to 40 miles offshore, but that is still going to bring tropical storm-like conditions to portions of the eastern Florida Peninsula and the Florida coast here. And that is why we do have the tropical storm the hurricane watches and tropical storm warnings in effect currently for Dorian. Again, this is Dorian continuing to move off towards the west, and this really shows no signs of weakening at any point. And in fact, we'll show the latest recon passes through Hurricane Dorian, showing a pressure of about 909 millibars, which is down about another millibar from the last pass through. So 909 to 910 millibars. The storm is continuing to strengthen on approach to the Avocos Islands. This is roughly the center somewhere in here, and this is the Avocos Islands. And this is going to be a very dangerous, catastrophic event for portions of the Avocos Islands here. And you can see in here we actually have about 160 flight level winds with near 165 surface winds. So that puts it at roughly 180 to 185 miles per hour. Taking a look real quickly at the latest HORF model, or the newest HORF model. This is the 6C run for today. And you can see the general trend towards the west, but also just know how close this does get. And again, even if this is sitting offshore, this is roughly right now about 40 nautical miles offshore. Tropical storm force winds extend out to about 121 nautical miles offshore. That puts the wind radii, if the HORF was correct by 60 hours from now, that puts the wind radii through portions of Brevard and portions of Brevard County and further south. Again, the overall trend, we'll have to continue to watch the overall trend, but more and more guidance has suggested a shift back towards the west, and it is not entirely, unlikely that Dorian could not make landfall somewhere in the Florida Peninsula by Labor Day in later weeks. So again, we're going to have to be continuing to monitor the trends on extremely dangerous Category 5 Hurricane Dorian with maximum sustained winds now of 180 miles per hour and continuing to head west at 7 miles per hour on approach to the Avocos Islands. I will have another video discussion by 2 p.m. or a little bit later, just depending on when the 18Z guidance comes in, and I will see you then. For all, now stay safe, and I will see you again later.